doing well and having the most incredible day as always. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. In today's video we are diving into all of the books I read throughout September, and I somehow managed to get through 10 books, which isn't my best month, but it is by no means my worst month either, so I'm really impressed with myself. Have I bought more than 10 books this month? Yes, so my TBR is just growing rather than going down. However, I got through some really good books this month and also some not great books this month, so I'm so excited to share them with you. I'm also really excited to be diving into October now because firstly, I mean, I can't believe we're already going into October. I feel like this year has gone so fast, but also I cannot wait to get my hands on some spooky books. I am so excited. So anyway, without further ado, we are going to dive right in. I hope you guys enjoy and carry on watching. So the first book I picked up in September was Demon Hunter's Trinity by Olivia Chase. Now I feel like this book I read ages ago. I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't particularly remember what this book was about. All I know is it was about a girl called Diana and she meets a boy on a train, and Diana is basically a demon hunter. She finds out that that is her life's purpose, to fight demons and find demons. She meets this guy on a train and they kind of hit it off really well. However, it does turn out that he is actually a demon and he is not alive. So that's kind of what the basic gist of the story. It was a very easy read. I think it was like 230 pages. I gave this one overall a 3-star, and it was in Diana's POV, so it's basically all in first person. As always, I made some notes on my phone. So I basically said that it's in Diana's POV. She moves to Edinburgh from London. Her dad is a ghost writing author, so he basically writes ghost stories, which is really interesting, especially because of the line of work that she is now in. It kind of works quite well. I also put that 14-year-old me would have loved this book, like the writing style and everything like that. Like 14-year-old me would have ate it up, so it was a little bit too YA for me personally, but I did really enjoy it. It was a very easy read. I should have saved it for October really, but it was a really fun read anyway. I also put in my notes that the romance kind of at the start was very rushed. However, it did make sense towards the end, so yeah, you kind of have to get through to the end of the book to understand the whole thing. But yeah, it was a good book. It wasn't my favorite, so yeah, a 3-star overall. The next book I picked up in September was my book club pick of the month, and this month it was my choice, which was Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. This has to be one of the worst things I've ever done to myself and to Kelsey. This book was not good. It was not it. I don't like to hate on books. I have such a love for so many books, so many different authors, but this book made no sense. I hated every single character. Like, there was no character in this book that I loved and enjoyed reading. There was no plot. The time jumps made no sense because they weren't like marked either, so it just made absolutely no sense to me. Also, Sally Rooney does not use quotation marks, which I understand for some people is fine, but for me it just made no sense. Like, I couldn't get into the world. I didn't like it. It was a 1-star read, which I feel like is kind of harsh, but it's just true. It just wasn't for me, and I know some people who actually really enjoyed this book, and I'm so glad if you love it. Like, I really am happy for you, but it was not for me. I just can't get into it. I will not be buying any more of Sally Rooney's books. I mean, I won't get rid of this one because I am a collector of things and I will keep it, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. I didn't love it. The plot there was just no plot at all. It was like the weirdest book I've ever read. Like, both characters had so many red flags and I just didn't like either of them, so that is why I gave it a 1-star. It wasn't my favorite, so I will never read it again, but if you guys read it, I'm glad if you liked it, but it wasn't for me. The next book I picked up was Gothicana by Runix. Now, I have been wanting to read this book for months. I had it on my TBR for ages, and Ryan actually picked out my TBR for last month and he picked out this one. I am so glad he did because this is one of my favorite books ever. This was a 5-star read, and essentially, to describe it, it's like a murder mystery, spicy romance, slightly paranormal but not book. It was so good. I really enjoyed it, and it's basically about a girl called, what is her name? Corvina, and then you've got Vad, and Vad is a professor. He's like teaches at the school, but he's like a student professor, and she goes to this boarding school, and it's a very bizarre, it's really hard to describe it. The murder mystery side of it was like very YA, but there was spice also. It was so good. Again, a 5-star read. They are bringing out a kind of special edition, which I really want to get my hands on, so it is on my Christmas list. I am dying to get it. But yeah, this book was incredible. I absolutely loved it, and I would highly recommend it, especially for next month, for like the spooky kind of vibes. It was so good. I cannot recommend this book enough. So yeah, I feel like I haven't really told you what this book is about. I feel like I've just told you how much I loved it, but you've got basically two characters. One is a teacher, one is a student, and she goes to this kind of school where a few things start to happen, and it's one of those books where the plot twist at the end, I just didn't expect it. Similar with Win, Lose, Kill, Die by Cynthia Murphy. I love that book so much because of the plot twist. This was exactly the same. I kind of read it and I couldn't believe what I was reading. So yeah, it was so incredibly good. If you guys haven't read it, honestly, it's incredible. The next book I picked up was The Setup by Lizzie Dent. Now this is going to be featured in a video very, very soon, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about this book. I gave it 3 stars. I liked it. I didn't love it. I don't really want to tell you guys too much about what it's about either, because in the video I go through the whole process of reading it, but essentially it's kind of about a girl who is obsessed with her horoscope and she lets that run her life. I feel like that's all I really want to say. I don't want to say anything else, but I gave this one a 3 star. As I said, I did like it. The only thing about this book that I absolutely despise as well is the actual quality of the book. Like, I don't know if you guys can see, but we're missing pieces of it. The actual spine itself is so incredibly damaged, which you guys know just grates me to like no extent. I absolutely hate it. So yeah, other than that, this book was a 3 star. You'll see that video coming out very soon. Similarly to that one, this book is also going to be in a video very soon. This is The Time of My Life by Rosie Melenda. I think that's how you pronounce her name. This one was a Groundhog Day kind of book, so it wasn't my favorite. Again, this was a 3 star read. I won't go into too much detail, but I don't think Groundhog Day, like repetitive days, is my kind of vibe. I found it very boring, like just reading the same thing over and over and over again. It just wasn't my favorite, and I know that each day is a little bit different, but it just got a little bit repetitive, so I didn't love it. But this was a 3 star read. Again, keep your eye out for the vlog, it is coming soon. But yeah, that was another book I read this month. Next up, we have a book by one of my all-time favorite authors, and that is Crossed by Emily McIntyre. I have loved every single book that she's written. Every single book has been a 5 star read. This is no different. This was a 5 star read for me, and essentially, if you've never read any of the Never After series, they're basically lightly inspired by Disney films, so they're not retellings, it's not the same story. The characters just have very similar names, and it's kind of, they have similar roles, if that makes sense, but it's not the same. But yeah, basically these are like spicy Disney vibes, if that makes sense. In this one was inspired by The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So you have Father Cade, who is like a priest, and then you have got Amaya, who is essentially looking after her brother. He struggles a lot with autism and things like that, so she's basically in like the mothering role, I suppose, and it is very, very good. There was a lot of plot twists which I didn't expect. At the beginning I found it to be quite slow. It did drag on a little bit at the beginning, but overall I thought it was absolutely incredible. I loved it so much, and there is one more book coming out which I think is going to be The Little Mermaid inspired. There were a few things in this book that did link towards that and kind of edged you on towards that a little bit, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, a 5 star read. I absolutely loved it. It was incredible, and I highly recommend this series. If you haven't read it and you like a spicy romance, I really recommend it. The next book I picked up was another one which Ryan picked out for me for my TBR for September, and that was Family of Liars by E. Lockhart. I have had this on my TBR ever since it came out. I have been dying to read it, but not dying to read it, if that makes sense. I really wanted to read it because I did enjoy the first one. However, this one was a little bit different for me. I thought the first half was very slow, like it was just lagging a little bit, but the plot twist at the end, Rosemary, the character, I absolutely loved. I really, really enjoyed this book. Overall, I gave it a 3 star, so it wasn't my absolute favorite, but for what it was, I enjoyed it, if that makes sense. I really, really liked it. Mainly the second half. The second half I really, really enjoyed. Again, the first half was just a little bit slow for me, and I do find these books sometimes a little bit hard to get my mind into just by the way they're written, and like to understand at what point in time they're based in, if that makes sense. Overall, I did really like it, especially if you guys have read the first one and you enjoyed the first one. I would recommend reading this one simply because you get a little bit more in the family. Like, it kind of goes back for the parents, if that makes sense, so you kind of get a bit more information on their past, and it was really good. So yeah, I do recommend it. It wasn't my favorite book, it's not my favorite style of book, but I did like the kind of confusion of it. It was really good. The next book I picked up was Lucian and Delila by Willow Winters and Lauren Landish. Now this again is going to be in a reading vlog very, very soon, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I did give this one a 3 star, which I think is the lowest one of her books I've rated. I did like it. I just felt like there wasn't enough plot in this book. It was just very spice heavy, and I like a good storyline as well, which I didn't think this had much of, if I'm being honest. This one was about obviously Lucian and Delila. In my notes I just put good, spicy, just not enough plot and relationship building for me, and that's kind of all I put. So you'll have to watch the reading vlog to get a bit more info, but that is my thoughts on this one. The next book is also featured in a reading vlog, so I'm not going to go into too much detail again, but that is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This again was a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. If you liked Verity by Colleen Hoover, you will love this book. It was so good. The plot twists were incredible and it really kept me on my toes, and I loved it. It was so good. I absolutely loved it and I highly recommend it, and I am looking forward to reading the second one. So keep your eyes out for that video. It is coming soon, but yeah, that was incredible. And last but definitely not least, we have got Empire of Lust by J.L. Beck. Now, I have been itching to read this book for a long time. It was really, really good. It was a 4-star read for me. At first, I thought it was very meh, like it was going to be a 3-star read, but the ending was insane. It ends on a massive cliffhanger as well, so I need to read the second one ASAP. It was so good. It was a 4-star read. Did I say that? It was a 4-star read anyway. I absolutely loved it, and essentially this is like a best friend's dad trope, which I don't think I loved, but it was really good, and it was kind of like mafia meets romance sort of vibe. It was just incredibly good. The only thing I didn't really like about this book is that the male character Callum, he was overprotective. Like, there's protective and then there's like to the point where he's putting a tracking device on her phone, protective, and that was a bit too much for me. Like, I just didn't like that so much, but it also came in handy in part of the book. So it's one of those ones, like, I didn't like it, but it was really, really good. So yeah, this was a 4-star read and I highly recommend it. If you like that mafia romance style, you will love this book. So that is everything I read throughout the month of September. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I would love to know down below what you guys read in September and what your favorite book of the month was. But that is everything in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.